Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Sports. For the opportunity for me to try and predict Rassie Erasmus's team that he will announce tomorrow afternoon, and lots of different ways to go about this because there are lots of very interesting decisions to be made in terms of the Springboks side. Obviously, you've got to replace Oxenshare. That's your sort of first start to this prediction. Then you got to kind of decide, are we going to sort of see a 6-2, 5-3, for example? And whilst the prediction's not going to actually include the bench, I'll tell you kind of who I would like to see on the bench. It's more about starting 15. Your starting 15 obviously does impact the kind of the way you're potentially going to use the bench. And, in terms of if you're going to go with a 5-3, for example, you want to make sure you've got more forwards that can kind of go the distance versus if you go 6-2, 7-1, you can kind of sit there and say, right, we need forwards who are explosive, can go and empty their tank and then come off. There's a lot of different positions I think are quite 50-50. I think your centers, locks, and front row being the ones. I reckon your wings. Look, Ethan Hooker could very well start, but I just think that Kurt Lawrence, Cheslin Colby, as the experienced operators, will get there. Damien Willems at fullback, I expect to see as well. Before I start getting into sort of choosing my team, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you've also picked your team on my Pickstart app. I am leading the leaderboard on the Forever Sports team predictor, so I'm hoping that this will keep me atop of that leaderboard tomorrow. But I might be very, very off it. So go into my picks and go and get your team selected. So in terms of where I'm at over here, so I think that obviously starting at tight head, loose head rather. There's no Oxenshare. So those are our prop options. Thomas Toy, Volkolo, Gerard Steenkamp, Bowen Venter, Asnat, and Klabakanye. We've got two loose heads in Steenkamp and Venter, two tight heads in Volkolo and Asnat and Klabakanye, and a swing prop in Thomas the Toy. Now, I think by virtue of bringing Asnat and Klabakanye into the mix, no Jan Vessels, no Oxenshare, I think that Thomas the Toy could start loose head. I think that they'll look to bring Gerard Steenkamp off the bench. They kind of always have. I don't actually know if he even ever started for the Boks. He's always been an impact, in inverted commas, player for the Boks. He's always come off the bench. And I expect that to be kind of the same this weekend. He might get a start. He might very well get a start. I might be very, very off it. But in general, I think if you look at his stats for South Africa, he's played 12 tests. He's never started a test. So just my luck will be that I predict him to start to be on the bench, then he gets his first start. But I'm reckoning Thomas Toy will start. And I think Malcolm Mark starts in the number 2 jersey. And I think that Wilco Low probably starts in the number 3. You could very well see Asnat and Klabakanye start instead, but I think you probably got a safer option in terms of Wilco Low starting. I think these three know each other quite well. The only sort of, for me, if you're going to kind of, at this stage, I'm leaving out Bowen Venter as the one prop not playing. You could start him. I'm kind of a bit surprised if they do start him, because I think that, you've got to try and contend with a massive French pack, and I think that we need some bulk. But I think that Asnat and Klabakanye, he's an interesting one to bring in because he's also not particularly experienced. So there's a certain amount of, if you take Volko Low and you put him on the bench, he's probably more experienced, inverted commas, than the rest. And therefore, you kind of got the youngster in Asnat and Klabakanye next, Thomas Toy, Malcolm Marks, very experienced. And then you've got the experience of Volko Low to come on with Gerard Steenkamp, Bowen Venter, and Johan Krobelop. But Gerard Steenkamp's been around the block as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think the tight head could be different, and I could be completely wrong. They might go Bowen Venter at loose head, and then they're going to have to probably go Thomas Toy at tight head starting, and then off the bench. So number 4, I think, is a pretty nailed on even Etzebeth. Number 5, this for me is such a toss-up, I think, between Ruan Nokia and Loet Diaga. Loet Diaga I thought was so good last week against Japan, but you can't ignore the form that Ruan Nokia has shown throughout the year. So I'm going to back that. I'm going to back Ruan Nokia. I think we're going to want to try and tire out the French. Then we're going to try and play quite a quick game plan. The weather is conducive as well to kind of playing the Tony Ball vibes. So I'm going to say it's going to be Runokia. It could very well be Loet Diaga. I don't think we'll see like an Arches name and Loet Diaga combination. My gut says we don't see Franco Master start either. And I think that Aaron Etzebeth starts at 4. I think that's a pretty easy selection. The number 6 is going to be our skipper in what we expect to be his 100th test for Saturday if he gets selected and he doesn't come off the bench. He's a starter, and I think he will start. Number 7, Peter Steph the Toy. I think that's pretty straightforward. And number 8, Jasper Wiese, I think is also a pretty easy pick to make. So that's what my pack looks like. My Warriors here are 1, 3, and 5. I'm pretty sure 2, 4, 6, 8, 7 I think that's pretty, my little L there, I think that's pretty safe bet. The 9-10 combination, he knows the conditions. He's played there for years. You've got to go for me, Kobus, and you cannot drop Sacha on current form. And I'm keeping this combination. As our starter. They're playing well. They're getting the business done. You can't now, well, for me, I wouldn't suddenly say, okay, cool, it's a big game match against France, it's a bit different. Let's go and start a Andre Pollard, for example. It's a bit safer. We got to put players into the pressure cooker. Like a Ruan Nokia, like a Sacha, for example. Even maybe to an Asanati, although we have to wait until what's going to happen with this hearing. But, those sort of players you want to put into the pressure cooker of Stade de France. And I think the way Sacha's playing, he's got so much confidence. You just keep sending him out there until he starts messing it up. In terms of our centers, this is where you get interesting. I think Delendi starts in the number 12 jersey. I personally think Esterhuizen will be on the bench. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm kind of picking a bit of a 5-3 split on the bench, and I think that he'll be one of them. Potentially, Hooker could be one of them as well, because I don't think Hooker's going to start. Oh, he could very well start. I'm so in between him and Kurt Lawrence for the wing. But in terms of outside center, I would really like to see them go and give Kane Moody a shot. And I must admit, I was one of the players, I wouldn't say it's a pun, but I was one of the fans saying that he has struggling at 13 was Kane Moody. He wasn't playing particularly. In fact, even Rassie Erasmus said he wasn't playing particularly well on the wing. Come to outside center, he's been really, really good. He's been very good with Damien Delendi as well. And again, I want to see him in the pressure cooker, and I think that it's the perfect opportunity to get him playing against France. And if he doesn't code, then you put Jason Creel against Ireland. It becomes quite simple, to be honest. But I think you've got to give him this chance and see how he performs against, Gael Fiku, for example, one of the best outside centers in the world. Because if you're looking at Kane Moody as your project 2027, you got to give him the game time. You've got to get him in the mix. The wings. Now, I don't think it's a bad decision here. I really don't. I think if you were to go, Kurt Lawrence, Cheslin Colby, Edel van der Merwe, if you were to go Ethan Hooker, I don't think it's a bad call, to be honest. I would love to see Ethan Hooker start. I'd love to see what he can do. And I think he brings a bit of a different dimension to the game with his physicality. I just don't see how you leave Kurt Lawrence out, because we want to score tries this weekend, and his strike rate is just immense. So he's in the number 11 jersey. In number 14 jersey, you always have to go Cheslin Colby. You have to put one of the best players in the world, the X factor, the player that can and spark something out of nothing. You got to back him in the number 14 jersey, and assuming he's fit, you get Damien Willemse at fullback. So that's kind of where I'm at with my team, and I think that there are. It's going to be interesting to sort of see what, if I'm wrong, where I'm wrong, because I think that I got a pretty good feeling. Anyway, that's my team. That it could very well be what I've mentioned in terms of the front row potentially having a tweak there. If they're going to backbone Fanta, if they're going to start Gerard Hanekom for the first time in his career. Maybe they'll look to try to give Ethan Hooker a go. Maybe Andre Esterhuizen starts at 12, but I just think Damien Delendi's been so consistent. And I like to see Andre Esterhuizen off the bench in a 5-3 split option, where it can then be deployed as a 6-2 if we want it. So I think this ticks all the boxes. Maybe a Lutiag in the number 5 jersey, but I think that this is pretty close to what we see. My guess is if I get players wrong, I would be surprised if it's more than 4. My front rowers, my number 5, and potentially centre or wing. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thomas Toy, Volkolo, I think one of them definitely has to start. Whether it's Thomas Toy tight head, for example, or at loose head, I don't see both of them being on the bench, for example. So I'm predicting maybe one prop wrong, maybe a lock wrong, maybe a centre wrong, and maybe a wing wrong. That's why I'm saying anything more than 4, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if we moved away from Kobus and Sacha. I'd be surprised if we moved away from our back 3. I'd be surprised Johan Krobler suddenly starts. So this is what I'm predicting. What are you predicting? Let me know down in the comments below, and make sure you get onto my picks and drop your team and email it to me. And during our team prediction tomorrow, so our community predictor, I'm going to show some of the other teams that have been submitted. So go and send me your team at youtube@fairsportsmedia.com, and let's have a look at it and discuss it tomorrow. Please smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon.